On the line with us, we have Kat Cammack. She is the congressman, the representative from the 3rd District of Florida, a real good friend of this show. Congresswoman, welcome to Fox Across America.
Hey, Paul, good to be with you. Now we just have to make a tremendous amount of fun of that flacker, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, listen, I said when he called me up and said he had to run out because he's got a big TV project, I said, well, being on TV all the time worked for Anthony Fauci, so why should you not go do the same thing?
I mean, hasn't anybody told him that he has a face for radio, not for television? I mean, come on, that guy.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, listen, when we talk about infantile behavior, let's segue into infants. We can't feed them in America. If for whatever reason you don't breastfeed your baby and you need infant formula, which I did with both of my daughters and millions of mothers and fathers do, how is it in America that we can't have infant formula available to feed our babies?
It is such an upside-down, topsy-turvy world we are living in. Where to start? I guess we can start with the fact that the Biden FDA shut down the nation's largest manufacturer of baby formula without a plan to backfill and make up that 43% of the market that they produce. And then, of course, they've been stockpiling supplies, including baby formula, diapers, wipes, et cetera, at the border. And every time you turn around, it's just an America Last policy coming out of this White House. And it took, quite literally, Border Patrol agents sending us photos of the baby formula at the border, sending me messages saying, I drive 5 miles down the road to my local Target, and I can't get formula for my own kids or my grandkids. And yet I've got plenty of formula here. And no one's suggesting that you don't take care of the kids at the border. They're here because Biden invited them. But what is absolutely crazy is that you have moms and dads across America who have been sounding the alarm for months. And it took quite literally an act of Congress to get the attention of the FDA to actually do something and let these plants get back up and operational.
Well, give me a little education here, because it is my understanding, as I've been trying to dive into this topic, that one of the things that we can do is tap into the fact that there's ample baby formula available in Europe, that they have it to spare, yet for some reason, because of our bureaucracy and our red tape, we can't import it. Can you shed any light on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little bit of a timeline here and just kind of laying out the field. We have about 4 manufacturers that produce virtually 100% of the nation's baby formula supply, which the baby formula cartel situation, that's another topic for another day. But you see a whistleblower in fall of last year who says, hey, there's some situations at one of these plants that needs to be checked into. So the FDA does an investigation. There was a claim made or an accusation made that there was bacteria in this Michigan plant that was responsible for the tragic death of 2 infants. Well, after the investigation, Biden's FDA and CDC comes back and says, no, there is no scientific evidence connecting the two, and then they went radio silent. So this plant has been waiting to come back up online, and they've had nothing in terms of communication back from the White House or the FDA, so they've been dormant. And everyone has been accusing this plant of responsibility for the tragic death of these infants. Well, that turns out not to be the case. In the meantime, the FDA didn't do anything to ease regulations. They didn't do anything to lift tariffs that would allow us to import baby formula. Some of these manufacturers have plants overseas, like you said, in Europe, and they didn't do anything to make a plan to backfill. When you have that much baby formula being taken off in a voluntary recall out of the market, you have to have a plan in place before you even shut the plant down. You have to say, we are going to make up the difference by importing from the EU. We're going to get this here, that there. They didn't do any of that. It took parents getting upset, contacting members of Congress, and it really put it over the edge when we found out about the stockpiling at the border. And I just think that is another indication of how broken, disjointed, and awful this administration is. It's a total dumpster fire from start to finish. You can't walk down the sidewalk with tripping over one of Biden's crises of his own creation. And to me, that's unacceptable. The American people, they deserve better. We need to get away from this America Last administration.
Representative Kat Cammack, the third district of Florida, joining us here on Fox Across America. So, as you say correctly, there is one crisis after another, after another, after another with this administration. We are all assuming that there's going to be a change of control of Congress in November. So January 3rd or whatever the first day of 2023 is, first business day, we'll have a new Congress. But we still have a whole bunch of executive function that is going to be in the hands of Joe Biden. How do you see the next 2.5 years playing out?
Well, I actually was just telling someone about an hour ago that it is amazing to me that the Democrats have the House of Representatives, they have the Senate, they have the White House, and yet they have not been able to execute fully on their dependency and control, ultra-progressive agenda. And it's in large part because the minority, we as conservatives, have been screaming at the roof, from the rooftops, at the top of our lungs, exposing really what this administration is trying to do. And it's through the public outrage. It really shows just how powerful we, the people, we are when we come together and say, no, absolutely not. Hell no, we are not doing this. We're not going to let that happen. It's just like this baby formula issue. It shouldn't have taken act of Congress to get the attention, but once the collective outrage of moms and dads around the country started pouring in, all of a sudden there was action taken. Just a few hours ago, we saw that the Ministry of Truth, this so-called arbiter of truth, this information governance board out of Homeland Security, they have been put on pause, and the Broadway star who was put in charge of it, she has resigned. This is all because we have continually exposed what they're trying to do. And it's all the more reason why Nancy Pelosi wants to pass things in the dark at 2 o'clock in the morning. Because if the American people know what's going on, they're going to say no. They're going to reject it. So I think, one, we've done a heck of a job at exposing it. But two, when you look at when we take the House back in this coming midterm election, it will restore balance. Because at the end of the day, Republicans, Democrats, no matter what party you affiliate with, we're all Americans. And this whiplash back and forth, it creates uncertainty in the markets. You see what's happening to the stock market in the last few weeks. You see what's going on in terms of creating a general sense of uncertainty in America, be it education, the economy, security, you name it. People want a nice, easy, common sense approach to government. They don't want this one extreme or the other. They just want common sense and America first. That's really what it comes down to. And I think that Republicans in the House and Senate, they will restore that balance that people are looking for.
Kat Cammack, Congresswoman from Florida, part of Fox Across America. Let me ask you something. Is it your perception, do you agree with this premise, that the number of things that we as Americans generally agreed on, that list is shrinking?
Oof. I'm the eternal optimist, so I want to say that it isn't. But the more that I travel across the country speaking with folks, I fear that it is. I still, at the end of the day, think that there is more that we agree on than we disagree on. How we get there is, I think, where we fundamentally disagree. And in some of the conversations I've had with my Democratic counterparts here in the House of Representatives, I think that's reflected in a lot of the issues of, we all agree we want better education for our kids. Now, my solution is, hey, let's get rid of the Department of Education, return the money to the states, empower our parents, empower our local teachers and people who are boots on the ground to make those decisions. Whereas the Democrats would love to grow the Department of Education and have a bureaucrat somewhere in a basement make those determinations. So we fundamentally disagree on how we're going to get there, but I think ultimately at the end of the day, the majority of Americans agree on the big issues. It's just navigating how we get to that end point.
Well, I would like to think that we agree that the United States is an exceptional nation. It's the most successful nation in history in terms of empowering its people and allowing them to make of their lives all that their talents and hard work will allow them to have. I think the United States has freed more people from bondage and lifted more people out of poverty than any other society that has ever come along in history. I think we all used to agree on that, except I bump into a lot of people now who seem to think that because America did have slaves at the time of its founding, that it is fundamentally flawed, that it is sinful from birth and cannot be redeemed. I run into that more than I wish I did.
And I think that is, a symptom of, this blue ribbon society where people have not had to experience adversity. They don't have that scrappiness and grit that's required in life, really, to be successful. And quite frankly, every time you give everyone a participation award, a blue ribbon, and they all grow up thinking that they're the most special person in the world, they have this false sense of entitlement. We have grown up in the most prosperous, incredible nation in the world, who is the most compassionate and generous nation on the planet. And people take that for granted. I was lucky enough to grow up in a blue-collar, working-class family with a single mom who taught me what hard work looked like and what it was like to live without a lot of things and a lot of comforts. And I've had to work very hard to strive for that. So I appreciate so much of what I have today because of my upbringing. But I come from a generation and currently represent a generation in Congress that is the most diverse, educated, wealthy generation to date. And that comes with its own unique challenges. And I think there is definitely a sense of entitlement and really a sense that it tells people that we're out of touch to the rest of the world. And so we will have to overcome that. And I think there will be some hard times we have to navigate. But on the other side of that, I think there's tremendous prosperity and a renaissance in America that we've never seen before. We just got to get through the dark.
The aphorism, the old line, I use it all the time, whom the gods would destroy, they make prosperous. We can be victims of our own success. But in the time that we have left, Representative Cammack from Florida's 3rd District with us here on Fox Across America, I ask this of every Republican member of Congress that I talk to, and I want to ask it of you. Walking down the halls of the Cannon Building or the Rayburn Building or wherever your office is, or in the halls of the Capitol Building, walking the halls and you come across your Democratic colleagues. When I first started going to visiting Congress, I would see Republicans and Democrats stand in the hall and have a conversation with one another and truly enjoy one another's company. There was some collegiality. To what extent do you get along with your Democratic counterparts?
I get along with pretty much everybody, honestly. That's, I think, one of the things that is not being told or being shared, and it's very popular to go home and talk about how you basically got in a fist fight on the House floor. That's not really happening. I can speak for myself in saying that I talk with Democrats every day because I see us all as Americans. And my mom, she taught me that we are all in the same boat together, and a rising tide lifts all ships. So we could do with a lot more of that kind of friendliness in Washington. I think that this hyper-partisanship, hyper-gridlock has done us no favors. But I can tell you, even just from this morning, I was doing a memorial presentation for women veterans, and there's over 200,000 women in our armed services today. I stood right alongside some of my Democrat colleagues, and we presented women from all across the services and the branches of our military, giving, really paying them tribute. And we did that as Americans, not as Republicans versus Democrats. We did that as Americans, and I'd love for us to get back to that. And I hope it doesn't take a national tragedy for us to get back to that place either. We should get there by virtue of saying, you know what, enough is enough. Let's do what's best for the country and put America first.
Well, I would like to think that's going to happen because I tell you what, this is no fun, and I don't like how divided we are, and I don't like the fact that we're no longer playing the game between the 40-yard lines. We seem to be on either end of the field, but not in the middle, kind of where the debate used to take place. Cammack, Closing words. What are your thoughts for the 2022 election? Both houses, just the House? What do you think? Got about 30 seconds.
I think the House and the Senate will go big, bright red. I just don't see any other way. Americans are looking for balance, and I think a rebalance would be Republicans taking the House and Senate and being a check on this administration and really putting America first in the House and the Senate. And I really do think we will overwhelmingly win. It'll be historic.
Well, we'll see. Let's hope that happens. Kat Cammack from Florida, Congressman from the 3rd District, a real friend of this show. Thanks for taking time today.
Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the week.